Live with CDP, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Now here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for their newest selection of new and used GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. That's 519-824-0210. Guys, just bear with me a minute. I'm just waiting for my guest, Barry Davis, to pop on as well. And also with Barry Cullen's, guys, right now, with the all-electric Silverado, pre-orders are now available through Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. So check out barrycullen.com or give them a call again at 519-824-0210. And again, thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for sponsoring Live with CDP Sports Talk as well. So just bear with me, guys. Barry is just having some technical difficulties. Barry should be on shortly, and I'm looking forward to speaking to the former reporter for Sportsnet and for the Toronto Blue Jays. And he was at one point with the Fan 590 many years ago. And I'm looking forward to speaking to Barry tonight. And just give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to bring on Barry again. He's a former reporter for Sportsnet with Toronto Blue Jays, Fan 590, and now he is currently a sales and leasing consultant for Bolton Honda. And he's also the lead singer for We Ain't Petty tribute band, and also I believe the Cars, Driven Cars band, tribute band to the 80s band called the Cars as well. So again, just 1 second, guys. I'm going to bring on Barry Davis. Hopefully I can bring Barry on. 1 second. Hi, Barry. How are you doing?
Chris, great to hear from you. It's been, sorry, technical difficulties. You know, these old people have to learn how to use certain items like this. So, but good to be on the show with you, Val.
Well, thank you so much. And I've gotten used to that. Was doing Rogers TV or camera work, things happened. And by the way, I'm not young either. I'm 50 now. I turned 50 in June.
I got 4 years on you, Chris.
Really? You don't?
Yes, sir.
Well. Yeah, you look like you're.
Well, I feel it.
Really? Wow. So far, I've been lucky. I guess age hasn't caught up to me just yet.
Well, for me, it's all the plastic surgery. I think that's what made the difference.
I haven't done that yet. So, how was your day, Barry?
Hey, you know what? Just another day at the office, grinding out, trying to sell cars that don't exist, and but that's another story. But had a chance to watch a little bit of the Jays this afternoon, wrap up the season, and really looking forward to the playoffs. Friday can't come soon enough.
I was going to say, by the way, I'm not at the Rogers Center right now. It's just my virtual background for my show.
Oh, don't spoil it. I thought you were really there.
This technology is just amazing now, and how I can keep improving my podcast show every year with the graphics and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I wish I could be on camera, but I'm better to be heard and not seen.
No worries about that. Understandable. And that's what I love about StreamYard. My guests can come on live video, or if they prefer audio. So it gives you options in that as well.
Well, there you go. I'm here, baby.
Definitely. And I was going to say, we'll get into the Blue Jays in just a minute, Barry. But I wanted to talk to you about some baseball news today from the National Baseball Hall of Fame. They announced 10 nominees for the Ford C. Frick Award winner for 2023. And Jerry Howarth is in those 10 nominees.
I'm glad you mentioned it, Chris, because I was just reading about it before I came on your show, and I really, really hope Jerry gets in. He's way overdue. Uh, this was an icon. This was the voice of the Toronto Blue Jays for so many years, alongside Tom Cheek. Of course, Tom has passed away. He's in the Hall of Fame, and Jerry Howard totally deserves to be in there right beside him. He has brought so much joy to baseball fans over so many years, and still miss hearing his voice. Really do.
I was going to say, I had him on my show a year ago, and he's been very supportive of what I'm trying to do. And it just makes me feel good when someone who's a legend in the business is really supportive of what I'm trying to do at my age.
And I tell you something, that's who Jerry is. And he was that same kind of support for me over 30 years ago when I, just getting my broadcasting career going. And even when I was going to college and taking radio broadcasting, Jerry was so gracious to give some of his time to me and do an interview with me that, got me an A on that assignment. So that's just a man that, not only is a great broadcaster, but he's a great human being. And I'm really, really honored to be able to call him a friend.
Well, and I feel the same way about you, Barry, as a friend, and you've been really great with me and supportive of what I'm trying to do. And like I said, I've met so many wonderful people through my podcast show and my freelance media work. It's just unbelievable how majority of people have been really supportive of what I'm trying to do and very encouraging of what I'm doing.
And you did something, Chris, that I was never able to do, and that's get a great sponsor for your podcast. And Barry Cullen, obviously that's a name that we've heard many times in advertising, and good for you to have Barry on your side. You got two Barrys now.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm working away on getting more sponsors, and I still like to prove to people that age is just a number, and that I'm willing to do what I have to do, hopefully to get an opportunity in the radio industry one day.
That's a great attitude to have. That is a really good attitude, Chris, and keep working at it, and one day your break is going to come.
Well, thank you so much. And to me, the guests make a podcast. I'm just the host. I ask questions. People want to hear the guest story, so I'm very fortunate.
And I've got lots to share.
I was going to say you could write a book. Hey, I was going to say
I am, in fact. I'm actually 3/4 of the way through writing a book.
Wow,
with all my stories. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. I'll come back on your podcast when I have it ready and published, and I can come out and talk about the book. But yeah, I've got a lot of great stories that I've been writing about over the years, and decided I just put them together and put a book together of everything I've experienced throughout my broadcasting career.
Well, I'll definitely have to buy a copy of that book, and maybe you'll have to sign up for me too. But I'll definitely would like to get a copy then.
I'll get someone famous to sign it for you instead. How about that?
Nah, you're pretty famous. So, hey, I was going to say, Jerry obviously should get in the Ford C. Frick Award, but there's so many great candidates. Why can't they put in more than one at a time?
That's a great question. And the answer truly is, Chris, is that, the Hall of Fame has been run by the same group of people for many, many years. It's like the old boys club, and they have their rules, and, they've slowly started to let some younger people get involved in the hall, and that's why we do see that extra spot for someone voted in by the players, and that's how Jack Morris got in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, it's some of these rules just don't make any sense, right? If you're deserving, you're deserving. It shouldn't matter if it's 1 or 7. If they deserve to be in there, then they put them in there.
Absolutely, because every guy being nominated besides Jerry, I have no issues with them being a Ford C. Frick winner or being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are many there, and it's unfair to pick one over the other when there's many that deserve to go in. It's unfortunate, but let's hope Jerry gets his due, because this is a place where he deserves to be.
Yeah, and I just finished reading this book, and it was just, I could probably read it again. It was just such a great book, and stories about his career that fans didn't know about.
There's a lot of them I didn't know about, and I was around Jerry a lot, and I learned a lot about him. Many of the stories I was able to kind of witness, either from afar or up close. But yeah, there were a lot of stories in there that really blew my mind, and that's what Jerry was great at. He was just a fantastic storyteller, and that's what you need for baseball play-by-play. There's so much space in the game, and you have to create a theater of the mind for the people listening. And I remember when I was working at the Fan, and I used to be the technical operator during the Jays games when they first started. When I first started working there, and we had a number of people that used to call in and say, "I'm blind," and I never been able to experience baseball like I do when I listen to Tom and Jerry, because they know how to paint the picture, make me feel like I'm there and I can see it in my mind, and that's amazing when you hear stuff like that.
After I'm done with you tonight, Barry, I'm going to probably send Jerry a message and just tell him congratulations on being nominated. And I'm crossing my fingers that this is the year that he gets in, because I think it's absolutely a no-brainer for him to be in the Ford C. Frickel winner at some point.
Absolutely. And if you talk to Jerry, tell him my Facebook account got hacked and I had to start a new page. So he needs to accept my friend request from my new page.
Okay, and I had that problem a year ago, and for 40 days, I couldn't get on Facebook or create a new account at all. And I had people angry with me saying, you unfriended me and that. And I said, no, somebody
Yeah.
hijacked my page, and I lost my Facebook page of 13 and a half years. And I had to start over completely.
So did I. And, when I started my Facebook page back when Facebook first started, there were a lot of things that you would load into Facebook, pictures and video, that you wouldn't have copies of anywhere else. And I've lost a lot of pictures and video that I posted that, unfortunately, I'll never see again.
Yeah, and I lost some of my original first podcast shows with Bob Sochi from the Patriots and Freddie Coleman from ESPN, completely gone. So Barry, I can completely relate to you, and I had to explain to people, and then I had people like, I'm not adding you as a friend because you already have an account, and I said, no, it's gone. So I'll definitely would let them know about your situation, because it took me a while to get some people to actually befriend me again on here.
Yeah. And then you get people writing you back saying, is this really you? Because I thought I was already friends with you. And then I have to explain. And, and then you can't post it on Facebook and say I was hacked, because the people that don't know won't see that post anyway. So anyway, I'm sure we got more important, exciting things to talk about.
I was going to say, first question I wanted to ask you, Barry, is what are your thoughts on Aaron Judge setting the American League record for most home runs in a season, surpassing Roger Maris, 61, and Babe Ruth, who hit 60 for the Yankees?
I think it's fantastic. Baseball needs a story like this. It's unfortunate it has to be a New York Yankee that does it, but you know what? He's having an MVP season. I mean, I know Ohtani's going to have a little something to say about that, but this guy has put up unheard of numbers. And yes, you can look at McGuire and Sosa, but of course there's a big asterisk beside that, because of, they were juicing at the time.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, and Aaron Judge is hitting, 310 on the season?
Yeah.
That's
I didn't see how the final games ended up, but I mean, he was right there battling to be a Triple Crown winner too, which is just absolutely incredible. I'm still kind of on both sides of the fence when it comes to the Sosa and McGuire situation, because if you look at a lot of those home runs they hit, even if they weren't juicing, they were still going out. I mean, they, instead of hitting them 460, maybe they'd hit them 440 if they weren't juicing. So maybe they would have done it if they weren't on the juice. But we'll never know. And, those balls were hit out of the ballpark. So in some ways they count. But I also know they broke the rules. But, then you can say, well, Aaron Judge has, an unfair advantage because he plays in a home run friendly ballpark. Now, not that he's hitting a lot of balls to right field, but it's still a home run ballpark. And, we don't know if he's on anything. I'm not accusing him of it, but I'm just saying we don't know. So, yeah, it's a remarkable stat. I love what he's done. I'll leave it for now by saying American League, because Sosa McGuire, of course, were National League.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, also, just quick thoughts on Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera, who's coming to the end of his career. Should he play one more year, or should you think Miguel Cabrera should retire? But I think it sounds like he wants to come back to Detroit for one more year.
Yeah, I mean, the fan in me wants to see him play, but there's also, you want to go out on a high, and you hate to see a player come back when their skills are obviously diminished, and then that final season ends up being one that was not pretty. And like I said, you want to go out on a high. And one person who did that, former Toronto Blue Jay, is Tom Henke, and he was on my podcast a few years ago and talked about how he wanted to step away from the game while he was still on top, and he did that. He went out on his own terms, and if you look at Tom Henke's career stats, they did not diminish in his last year. They weren't blown up. It wasn't a guy hanging on for one more year. But the one thing I will say about both Pujols and Cabrera is not only are they fantastic ball players, but great people as well. Just really solid human beings, great clubhouse leaders, guys that were able to communicate with both the Spanish-speaking players and the English-speaking players and really have the room. And it's sad to see that era gone. Those were two guys that you could always count on to put up big numbers year after year.
And I was going to say, as a Tiger fan, we obviously had a disappointing season, but I like the fact that they finally retired Lou Whitaker's number 1, and hopefully the Baseball Hall of Fame will get him in there. And it's just going to be another few years before Cabrera and Justin Verlander get their names put on the Walk America, and both should be first ballot Hall of Famers.
Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. And, I think the Hall will get it right with those two guys.
And I'm hoping the Tigers have it right with Scott Harris, who's their new director of baseball operations, who came over from the Giants. So I'm hoping he can rebuild the Tigers team into contenders again.
Well, they've got some good young talent, and I think, going into this season, if they had, finished at 500, that would have been a great success for the Tigers. And that's the thing with young teams, though. You're going to have some good moments, and you're going to have some really bad moments, and the Tigers had both of those. It was nice to see former Blue Jay Drew Hutchison, make some appearances with the Tigers this year too.
Definitely, and they did have Matt Boyd back, but they ended up trading him to Seattle. But we'll get into the Seattle Mariners in a few minutes because they'll be playing the Blue Jays this weekend at the Rogers Center. I still want to call it the Skydome.
Oh, I do too, and there's nothing wrong with that. Call it the Skydome. It shows our age.
Yes, I can't believe that stadium's 33 years old.
Well, I can when I see it, but I'm really excited to see what they're going to do to it next year. Because,
yes. Yeah, I was going to say, Barry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but yeah, the renovations that they're planning on doing make it look more ballpark friendly.
Yeah, real grass would be the nice thing. If one day they could get real grass, I'd be thrilled. But I'll take what they're doing. I think at least they're making some effort to improve the ballpark.
The location's great. The perfect location there.
If you're taking public transit, yes. If you're driving, it's horrendous. And I live in the West End of the city, so I'd love to see it somewhere out there, just from a selfish reason because it's easier to get to. But I totally get it. I mean, it's right there, at the subway and the GO train. Easy access that way for sure.
I was going to say I'm going to be in Toronto on Saturday as well, but for the Argonauts BC Lions game. And before I go to BMO Field, I always like to walk around the parking lot where the old exhibition stadium is and the bases and markers and stuff. It's too bad they couldn't have done something with that area, make it like a little league baseball field for kids and stuff like that.
And that's exactly what they did with Old Yankee Stadium. Yes. They have built a kids stadium on the location where it used to be. So I love that. Atlanta, I haven't been to the new ballpark, but Turner Field in the parking lot, they actually have marked exactly the spot where Hank Aaron hit that magical home run. And, they had a drawing of, like a painting of the home run fence across the parking lot where the old stadium used to be. So I love that they acknowledge that. And I think, yeah, Chris, that would have been a really cool thing to have some acknowledgement of the stadium that introduced baseball to Canada. Well, to Toronto. The Expos were already in town. But, this was, and I remember I was, not very old at the time, but I do remember skipping off school and watching the game on TV and then going out after the game and playing road hockey in the snow because it was, such a miserable day that day. But, I have so many memories as a child from Exhibition Stadium, whether it be going to Dominion and buying the $1 Junior Jays tickets and sitting out in the bleachers. And back then you were there early enough, they'd open up that you could watch the Jays take batting practice. And, you would always hope we'd catch a home run ball during BP, or going to games with my father and sitting out on those bench seats on the first baseline. And anybody listening and watching that, I'd been to Exhibition Stadium, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And man, in April and September, those benches could get awfully cold. And in the summertime, whoa. I mean, that was some serious heat. But yeah, so many great memories from Exhibition Stadium. That was where I watched baseball growing up, and that's how I became a Blue Jays fan. So yeah, I wish there was some acknowledgement of that stadium on the spot.
Like in Detroit right now, they tore down Tiger Stadium, but the Detroit Police Athletics League rebuilt that diamond. They kept the bases and home plate the same spot, and it's a beautiful ballpark. It was the only thing is they got rid of the grass, and it's got artificial turf, but it has a whole bunch of memory and history of Tiger Stadium. And I just wish Toronto would do that a little bit more with their past, because BMO Field, I like BMO Field, but there's no statues or no. I'd like to see more statues and stuff honoring honoring the Argonauts and even the Blue Jays at the Rogers Center too.
Yeah, if there's one thing I wish the Blue Jays could do better, and it's really the difference between the way the organization thought with Alex Anthopoulos compared to with this new regime, because Alex was very big on the alumni. He was very big on acknowledging those players and having a lot of the old players come and talk to the current players and stuff, whereas Mark Shapiro is about the now. He doesn't look back so much. He's not a big, alumni type guy. You won't see former Blue Jay players chatting with current Blue Jay players, giving them advice and stuff, because they don't want to put that in their heads and stuff. But so that's the big difference. And unfortunately, these guys built a really good baseball team, but there's just not a lot about the past that I'd like to see. And again, when are we getting another name up on the wall of excellence? I mean, Jose Bautista is a guy that I think, it's his time. I think he needs to go up there, especially with the Jays going back into the postseason this year and, having a chance to make a run. Can you imagine if the Jays happen to win the World Series this year and then next year, opening day, boom, they put Jose Bautista's name up on the wall of excellence? That would be very cool.
No brainer. And there's another person's name that should be on that level of excellence. This is Jerry Hellworth.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, he should definitely be on there as well. And hopefully one day that will happen.
His name should be right beside Tom Cheeks.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. You've had some good ideas tonight, Chris. You should write some of these things down and make sure that you follow through on them.
Unfortunately, people don't always listen to my ideas, but that's how I would do it if I was running the Jays operation. I would definitely, and I know Jerry's very humble and stuff like that, but this is a no-brainer about getting him on that level of excellency, because he is one of the best broadcasters in baseball, and 37 years of his life calling Blue Jays games, and he did a great job.
Yeah, he was, and we've talked about it already, but yeah, he's part of so many Blue Jays fans' memories. And no disrespect to the radio crews now, and Ben does a fantastic job calling the Blue Jays games, but listening to baseball on radio, it's not the same. Like, people don't do it the same anymore. People aren't in their cars listening to radio. They're listening to podcasts like yours. And, people's viewing habits and listening habits have changed where, a passenger in a car can sit and watch the Jays game on their laptop or their iPad or iPhone. The person driving can't, but, so there's not as much reason or necessity to listen to a radio broadcast. So, and again, maybe that's just me being an older guy and looking back and saying things were better back in my day, which they were. But, that could be part of it too. But for me, when I think Blue Jays baseball on the radio, I think Tom and Jerry. It will always be that for me. That will be the legacy of Blue Jays radio broadcast for me.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, Barry, what were your overall impressions of this 2022 Toronto Blue Jays team and the job that interim manager John Schneider has done so far?
Well, let me talk to Schneider first, and I'm really impressed with what he's done with this team. And you say, okay, so what has he done with this team? Because a manager can only do so much, right? The talent is there. It's whether or not they perform or not. What John Schneider has done is what John Gibbons was able to do at the time when he was having success. And all sports teams will end up adapting the personality of the coach. If the coach is laid back, calm and easy, the team is usually laid back. If a coach or a manager is tough, then the team will be tough. And I think John Schneider really didn't do much with the talent of the team as much as what he did with the attitude of the team. And I think they took on his personality. And that's, put your boots on and go to work and get the job done. Even the way he handled the situation last week with Vladimir Guerrero when he didn't run out the ball and then ended up getting thrown out at second. He made sure that was addressed and made sure that he knows that shall never happen again. I'm not saying Charlie Montoyo was running a country club atmosphere, but it was a little bit more laid back. And this team, because we're talking about a relatively young baseball team in the Blue Jays, and it's, what, you're going to give them a little bit of leeway. They'll take advantage of that, and they'll take even more and more. Because that's what young people do, right? I did it when I was young. It's not just young people of today. It's just people in general. If you're given the opportunity to take more, you're going to take more. And that's pretty much, the attitude the Jays had for parts of the season. And that's why they had a real tough time staying consistent. Because you'd see this team and they'd look like they were ready to make a tear. And then a whole bunch of terrible things would happen with this team. And I also have to say I like some of the handling of the bullpen from Schneider. And I think maybe he's deferring more to Pete Walker. Because Pete Walker knows this pitching staff really well. But whatever the case may be, John Schneider's record as manager, to me, shows that he deserves another shot to manage this team next season. So I didn't even remember what the second question was. I just went on my Schneider rant.
No worries about that. The other part of it was overall impressions of this 2022 Toronto Blue Jays team.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of addressed it in the talk about Schneider and the fact that, inconsistent at times played below the talent they had, but at other times played above the talent they have. I mean, you think about the night they scored 28 runs in Boston, and then they followed that up in September with an 18-run game against Philadelphia. So, I mean, this team has the ability to just explode offensively. The thing is, can they get everybody on a good run heading into the playoffs? And I really like the fact that Teoscar is starting to hit the ball really well. I'd really love to see Lourdes Gurriel back, but I'm thinking he probably won't be back for this series. They can't take a chance of having a guy that may or may not be able to go when your rosters have to be set. So, but again, there are a lot of guys. I always judge players by not necessarily what their numbers are, but how they compare to what their averages are. And baseball's based on averages, most of the stats. So I look at a player and I say, is he having an average year, a below average year, or above average year? And if you have multiple players that are having above average years, your team's going to do very well. And the reason why the Jays didn't do as well as they should have last year is because there were a lot of guys that didn't have above average years. The ones that did, Semien and Ray, and you see what happened after they left. Neither one of them were able to continue the success they had because last season was not what they're normally about. That was an above average year. So the point I'm getting at as far as this year's team is you've got a lot of guys that are having above average years. And I think that they've found a really nice blend. You can take a lot of the positives out of the fun and joking around and maybe, losing focus at times. But what that did is it really bonded this team. And I think that this is really going to help them heading into this postseason. And as you know, Chris, playoff baseball is all about pitching. And I feel very confident with them going into a 3-game series, having Manoah and Stripling going number 2. And who knew that Stripling was going to have the season he's had? Talk about players having above average years, right? And then Gosman for game 3. To me, that's fantastic.
I was going to say, and that leads to my next question, Barry, and you already answered my question about John Schneider. My next question is thoughts on this 2022 wildcard matchup with those Seattle Mariners who just beat Detroit again today. And I believe the Jays finished with 92 wins, Seattle 90 wins, but this is Seattle's first time in the postseason since 2001.
Yeah, and if any of you listening have a chance to hear the TV call of the walk-off win that got them the clinch in the spot, it's fantastic. But yeah, it's kind of cool that you've got the 1977 expansion teams going at it in the postseason. It's going to be, it was good for the Jays because whether they had home field advantage or not, they were still going to have home field advantage. And I bet there are a lot of people out on the West Coast that were really hoping the Mariners would finish ahead of the Jays just so that the games could be there to go see the Blue Jays. I think that the way this team has been playing heading into the postseason bodes well. But one thing I've learned from watching a lot of playoff baseball over the years is none of that matters. Every game is something different. It's all a matter of, is your starting pitcher on his game? Is your offense, seeing the ball and clicking? And 9 times out of 10, the better team is going to win the series. So if you use that deduction, then the Blue Jays are going to win this series. But anything can happen in baseball. And that's one of the things I love most about baseball, Chris, is, every game you watch, you've got the potential of seeing something you've never seen before. Even after thousands of games, there's something that could happen in that game you've never seen before.
Absolutely. And then you got former Blue Jays Cy Young winner Robbie Ray with the Mariners as well. And Matt Boyd, who's with the Blue Jays, who was traded to Detroit for David Price.
There you go. Some connections there. Apparently that's going to be the game 1 matchup, Manoah against Ray at the Rogers Center. So that, I tell you what, I am really excited to see that series.
Now, being an Argos fan, a lot of the Argo fans online are kind of upset with the Jays, but I said, listen, the Jays don't make the schedule. Major League Baseball and the networks do, I believe, Barry. Mm-hmm. Am I right or wrong about that?
Yeah, the Jays have no say in the schedule. There's no way the Jays would want to play 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the worst time of day to play a baseball game for fans, for media, for the players, because you don't have enough time to do anything in the morning if you've got errands to run or want to spend some time with your family. And then by the time the game's over, it's late and everybody's getting ready for bed. So it's a crappy time for a baseball game. Thankfully, one of the games is on a Saturday when most people are off, although I work Saturdays, but I'm off Friday. So I'm actually looking forward to, some afternoon baseball. And if the weather's nice, I'll bring my iPad outside and watch it out on the deck.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, can I get a quick prediction on this series, Barry, from you? Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Yes. So the Toronto Blue Jays or the Seattle Mariners are going to win this series and move on to the next round.
Okay.
You can bank on that. No, I think the Jays are going to take both the first 2 games and boom, bing, bang, done. Yeah, that's what I'm expecting.
I think it's going to go 3 games, but I'm not going to say who's going to win. I just think it's going to go threat to
Get
Sunday.
off the fence. You made me make a call. Now you make a
Okay.
call. Who's winning this series?
I'm going to go with Seattle in 3,
Oh, wow.
but I won't be shocked if the Blue Jays win. I just got feelings to Seattle, but we'll see.
We'll see. Either way, whoever wins this series has got the Houston Astros waiting for him, so that's going to be a fun run.
And you know what? It's going to be a crazy sports day in Toronto this weekend, especially on Saturday. The Argos game at 4:00, the Jays game at 4:00, and then you got a Leaf Red Wing preseason game at 7:00 that night as well.
What are the Leafs? What's the sport? Is that lacrosse?
Hockey. I'm into lacrosse now, by the way. I'm into lacrosse now.
Oh, you know what? It's one of those sports that once you see it live, you realize how cool it is, right?
Yep. And I had Brandon Shanahan's brother Brian on, and he talked to me about lacrosse for an hour. And super nice guy, super nice
He's
guy.
a legend.
Yes, and I can see why everyone likes the Shanahan family. He's just a world class act.
You want to know another Shanahan? He's either a brother or a cousin, but one of the Shanahan family members was BJ Birdie.
Kevin Shanahan?
It might be, yeah.
Because he was the original BJ Birdie. I believe the guy's name was Kevin Shanahan from what, 1979 to what, 1999?
Yep.
And he's related to the Brendan Shanahan.
Yes.
Wow, I did not know that, Barry. Thank you for letting me know that.
What did I tell you about baseball? At some point, you're going to see or hear something that you've never seen or heard before.
And by the way, I miss BJ Birdie. I just thought he had more character. No offense to Ace or Diamond or whatever they call them. I just found BJ Birdie had a little more character to his.
See, now you're sounding like an old guy like me, the old curmudgeonies in their 50s.
Yes.
Talking about how it was better when we were young.
Yes. Life was simpler back then.
Yes. You know what? I had this conversation with my wife the other day about, I mean, you think of the technology that we have seen over the last 25 years. I think it's moved faster in the last 25 years than it did over the previous 100 years. And it's just, you think about what it was like watching TV 20 years ago. You had a 26-inch big square box, and that was your big screen TV. And now you've got 4K. I've been watching Blue Jay games with my Oculus VR headset. And it's like I'm in this huge theater watching it on a 100-foot screen. And it's amazing what you can do with technology now.
Yes, there are negatives to it, but it's a great tool. And I would not have this podcast without the technology nowadays.
Exactly. And I see it now, selling cars for a living. And the biggest thing is, it's that technology that has caused this whole delay. With the microchips that are needed for so many parts of the cars, including the key fobs. So, technology is great and wonderful, and it allows so many incredible safety features and great entertainment features in cars. But now you see the other side of the technology, and when it ain't working, you've got nothing to fall back on. You don't have that key to turn to start the car like you used to.
I'm still waiting on my new car that I ordered last February.
Oh my God! What did you get? Dare I ask?
A Chevy Trailblazer.
Oh well, there you go.
So
that's surprising me. I thought trucks were a lot quicker to come than cars were, but
no, it's actually a SUV.
Oh, the SUV, right? Yeah, okay, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, those they take a long time. Yeah, Honda Civics are about 8 months, which is it's
pretty
tough.
fast.
You need it if you need a new car, you got to wait 8 months for it. So
yeah, I'm hoping we never go through a pandemic again. Hopefully that's it.
Yeah, one a lifetime is good enough for me.
Definitely. Hey Barry, are you okay for a few more questions, a few more minutes?
I'm here. What do you got?
Okay, this one I'm going to put you on the spot with. Is this Blue Jays team a serious World Series contender in 2022?
If you had asked me that question 2 months ago, I would have said no. However, what I've seen from this team in September, I think they are a World Series contender. I'm not saying they're going to win the World Series, but I would say they are a contender. Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say I know they can score runs and they have good pitching. It's the consistency I found this year. They were very streaky. They actually reminded me of the '83 Blue Jays team a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing about being streaky, though, is if you get on one of those hot streaks in the postseason, that bodes well for you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just think this first round might be the toughest because it's such a short series. You really can't afford to have a bad game or a bad game and a half or even two games, or you'll be out quick.
And I know it's a cliche, but the game one is the one they have to win. You know,
Absolutely.
you can't, you do not want to go into this series facing elimination that quickly.
Absolutely. And I was going to say it's better than the one game series. At least now it's a 3 game series, and the team with the better record gets all the home games, which is a big advantage as
I think it's
well.
cool. I love that. I love that. You know, you could say it's unfair to the road team, but you know, as the road team, you've got, two cracks, 3 cracks at it to have a chance to win the series.
Yep.
Whereas before the road team, it was one game and it's done. So
And
I'm all for it.
one thing as well, the roof will be shut, so weather will not be a factor for the series. Not
Yeah,
that it was
that
going to
that
be in Seattle.
yeah, that makes me bitter though. I want the roof open if it's at all possible. If it's not raining, I'd like to see the roof open. And we fought over that. I remember in 15 and 16, and there were moments where we thought that MLB, because it was MLB's call. I don't know if it is still, but back then MLB made the call, and they would just say no, no, no. This roof is not opening, and it was a shame because I remember we had some really nice days back then where it would have been great to watch baseball outdoors. I've been to so many postseason games, Chris. There's just something about that smell of the air and the fall, that crispness, and watching playoff baseball. The atmosphere in the Rogers Center is great. Don't get me wrong, but outdoors it would have been so much better.
Absolutely. And hey, I grew up in the 70s and 80s like you, Barry, going to games at Exhibition Stadium or Taggart Stadium in Detroit or Veterans Stadium, and you dress accordingly to the weather.
Right. Or you bring a flask with something to drink to keep you warm.
Back then, I wasn't old enough to do that, so but I'm sure that happened quite a bit back in the 70s and
Oh
80s
yeah.
and those
Not
buildings.
young, not young kids like us, but yeah, we would
No.
see the older people doing that. I once was at a game, and there was a priest that was sitting behind me, and he had literally had a flask, and he was drinking through the whole game. He was swearing at the players. I was like, is this guy really a priest?
Wow. Okay, just got a couple more questions for you, Barry's. This one I wanted to ask you. Thoughts quickly on the Cleveland Tampa matchup and in the National League, San Diego against the Mets, who kind of collapsed and lost the division to Atlanta, and then the Phillies Cardinals series.
Well, let's start in the American League, and I think that this could be interesting, right? Where are these games in Tampa or Cleveland?
I think Cleveland won the division,
Yeah,
so
that's
Cleveland will
right.
have home
So
field advantage.
yeah, so think about this Tampa team that plays their home games in Florida. They never experienced really as a team playing in what could be potentially bitterly cold weather in Cleveland. So for that reason, I'm going to give Cleveland a nod in that series. I think they have a pretty good chance. I'm going to say Cleveland's going to take that series.
I agree.
Mets, and who are the Mets playing again?
San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego. I'm taking San Diego on this one. I think it's going to go 3, but I think San Diego's going to win that series.
Wow, a little bit of an upset there because I know the
Yeah,
Mets kind of blew the division to Atlanta and they've been struggling. But you know what?
and
I'm
that's
still
and that's what. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead, Barry.
And that's why I said, you want to be playing your best baseball going into the postseason, and the Mets aren't playing their best baseball. So I think that's going to be a key. If they win game one, I think they've got a chance. If they lose game one, I think they're going to go 1-2 and they'll be out.
I sort of agree. I can see San Diego upsetting the Mets and winning the series, but I'm still going to go with the Mets. But I think it's going to go the full 3 game series. But I'll tell you this: if the Mets get eliminated to San Diego, there's going to be a lot of heat on that Mets ownership and management group to make changes.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's New York, so they get it doubly harder than we do out here. So yeah, this is a big year for the Mets. They've got to come through.
Okay, and the other series, the Phillies and Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't. This is the one I really don't care much about. The Phillies again. They showed signs of being a really good team. They were almost like a National League version of the Blue Jays with the consistency. I just don't see the Phillies having enough to get through this series. So I say the Cardinals take it in two.
I actually agree with you, and the Cardinals are one of baseball's most consistent franchises. And even
Yep.
switching managers this year, they just kept on winning. And I just think I agree with you. I've got the Cardinals winning the series as well.
Wouldn't it be cool to see the Cardinals and Jays in the World Series, two teams that change managers?
That should have happened in '85, by the way. The Jays should have
Yeah.
beat Kansas City, and it should have been a Blue Jay Cardinal World Series in '85.
I still have dreams of that wind-blown triple that really should not have been a triple. And that excitement of the Jays being up and it's like, all right, we've won the series. And then just that happens and you just never forget it. And it was a tough moment because I think that was arguably one of the best Blue Jay teams in franchise history. And had they gotten past Kansas City, I think they would have won the World Series.
And I was going to say, that's still a team record to this day. 99 wins, 37 years later.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. That was a consistent team. That was a very consistent team.
But unfortunately, the American League decided to go to the best of 7 that year.
I know, right? If it was a best of 5, they would have won that series.
You definitely.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't worry. Hey, the Tigers had their heartbreaks in the 80s as well, losing to the Minnesota Twins. I told Jerry the Blue Jays of '87 might not have won the division, but they did cost the Detroit Tigers a chance to get to the World Series because they had nothing left when they had to play the Twins.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that was a great Twins team, though, too. Oh.
Yes, but I'm still a little bitter because the Tigers that year had one of the best records in baseball. But I just think that series, that 7-game series with Toronto the last week of the season, just took them out of them against the Twins. And I even think if the Jays had beaten Detroit, I think Minnesota would have done the same thing to Toronto too.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Minnesota was that was their year. They were going to go far, and yeah, I think they would have beaten either team.
We need to get Toronto and Detroit back in the same division because that rivalry was the best in the '80s.
Loved it, and yeah, I really wish they would put the Jays. I think Toronto and Cleveland and Detroit should all be in the same division. Why are the Jays in the same division with a Florida team? How does that make any sense?
Doesn't make any sense. I really think Major League Baseball needs to look at realignment in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and maybe even if you got to move a team from the NL to the AL, then you do it. I mean, really, honestly, it's all the same rules now. There's DH in both leagues. So really, what's the difference if you're in the American League or National League? Why not mix it up a bit?
Absolutely. And just a couple more questions, Barry. This one's non-sports related. Can you just tell my audience here in Guelph about your tribute bands, We Ain't Petty and Driven, are the Driven cars?
Driven. That's just the handle, because if I just put Driven, it's already taken.
Okay.
But Driven's a tribute to the Cars, and we also, with the same guys that are in that band, we have an all '80s band too called the Idiots, and we do everything from the Knack to the Cure, the Romantics to Crowded House. We just play a lot of fun, dancey kind of '80s music. And then the Cars tribute, one of the best rock bands of all time in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we usually combine the two shows and have both, do a set of the Cars and do a set of the '80s. So kind of keep it fun. And the Tom Petty tribute called We Ain't Petty. What can I say, man? Tom Petty was one of my favorites growing up. I've always been a huge fan of his. And I remember it was actually just 5 years ago this week that Tom Petty passed away. And I still remember where I was. I was literally rehearsing for one of our gigs and singing a Tom Petty song when I saw it scroll across my phone, and it was very surreal. So, yeah, you could follow both bands on social media at We Ain't Petty or at Cars. Oh no, Driven Cars Tribute is the other handle. And we play all around the GTA. I know you were going to come see us once in Cambridge, but we had two of our members with COVID, and we had to bail out a couple days before the show. So hopefully you'll get a chance to come see us at one of our future shows. For anybody in the Toronto area, we're going to be playing, and that would be Driven and the Idiots are playing at the Linsmore, which is on the Danforth, and that's October 29th. It's going to be a big Halloween bash. So yeah, come out and see us if you're in the area.
And I was going to say, one of my friends in Buffalo, Scott Cellini, he has his own tribute band to Tom Petty as well, and he's a really good guy too as well.
Oh, that's really cool. What's the name of their band?
The Scott Cellini Band, and he does a lot of Tom Petty stuff and a lot of Petty stuff, 80s music, and yacht rock radio, yacht rock.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
yacht rock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys actually, I think, would get along because I think he's the same age as you, and he just loves Tom Petty, and he loves performing.
That's really cool. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the music. And when you're loving the music that you're performing, it just it's hard to explain. It's an ultimate high to be up on stage and performing these songs. So yeah, thank you for giving me the chance to plug the bands. Thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun tonight.
No problem. And I was going to say, I think the 80s was the best decade for music, 70s and 80s, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm glad you said 70s. Now, I'm also the biggest Beatles fan in the world. And by the way, I have a Beatles tribute. It's a duo, and we play once a month in Burlington at a great little charcuterie wine and cheese restaurant called The Block. And we're going to be there on October the 20. Hang on, I'm going to look it up because it's a Saturday. And there's no cover charge or anything like that. October the 22nd. Saturday, October 22nd. We're on from 8 till 11, and we play, it's just the two of us, but we have a lot of recorded tracks we play too. So on some songs, it's actually the two of us playing guitars with actually Ringo and Paul on bass and drums in the background. So it's a pretty fun night, and we usually take requests too. We'll pretty much do anything Beatle related.
I was going to say, where's your favorite place to perform so far?
Oh, for me, about 6 years ago, We Ain't Petty. We played at the Peterborough Music Festival, and it was this huge outdoor facility, and there was about 8,000 people in the stands watching us, and it was just absolutely mind-boggling to perform in front of a crowd like that when we're used to performing between 30 and 100 people, in a nightclub or a bar, right? So that was really, really cool. They put on such a great show, and they've got great sound and lights, and you're treated like a real rock star. And that was, the most memorable gig I've ever had.
Were you a little bit nervous?
Yeah, leading up to it, I was, but once you start playing, it just clicks in. I always get a little nervous. It's just, it's good nervous energy. It pumps me up. It gets me riled and ready to go. And yeah, like I said, once you hit that first note, it's just second nature. It comes to you, and it doesn't matter if you're playing in front of, 8,000 people or 10 people. In fact, we get a little more nervous. I know we all kind of do when it's a very small crowd, because you know that they're going to be paying close attention to you, and you always like to, when you're performing, find someone in the audience that's really enjoying themselves and focus on them. Right? But if there's like 10 people and they're all kind of looking at their phones, you're thinking, okay, we're losing them. So it could be more nerve-wracking playing in front of small crowds.
I was going to say, I'll wrap this up, but do you have a favorite Petty song, car song specifically that you guys like to sing?
Oh, man. Yeah, okay, that I like to sing. That makes it better because I can't pick a favorite song. But the song that I like to sing the most from Tom Petty is The Waiting. And the song that I like to sing the most from the Cars is Let's Go.
Good choices. Good choices. So, okay. Hey, Barry, I'm going to let you go. I could talk to you for 4 or 5 hours, but again, I just want to say thank you for coming on season 4, episode 38. This is my 203rd episode since March of 2020.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Chris. Keep it going.
Thank you so much. Now, where can my audience find you on social media as well? And if you want to just quickly bring up where you work at Bolton Honda as well, I'd be glad to give you a plug as well.
Well, I think you just gave me that plug, so thank you. Social media, Twitter's the best place to find me. It's at Barry Davis _. Somebody by the name of Barry Davis took my Twitter handle, and believe it or not, somebody I know contacted him and said, "Hey, can you just give this guy the handle, because you don't tweet, you don't do it." Like, this person has never tweeted, has never responded to any tweets, but he has a Twitter account with my name and wouldn't give it up. So, so the _ is there. I already gave you my social media for all the bands, and I appreciate that. I think at Nowhere Men is we have for Facebook as well. You may want to confirm that, but we have a Facebook page for Nowhere Men as well, which is the Beatles duo that I do. And yeah, there you go.
Okay, and the last thing, and that's it, I promise. World Series prediction. Who do you have winning it all?
Dodgers.
I agree. Unless there's a huge upset, I think the Dodgers are the team to beat this year.
Yeah, and I think they'll be facing the Houston Astros.
Actually, I agree with you there too. Houston and LA World Series. So, hey, Barry, I was gonna say, and again, you're working on a book, and do you know what date it could be published by?
Oh, I don't know what year it could be published by. It's a long work in progress. I've been working on it for well over a year, and just when I think I'm close to being done, more stories come to my mind, and I go, oh, I got to add that one, and I got to add that one. So, I'll keep you posted, and hopefully one day I'll have a book to be promoting on your show.
Okay, because that's one thing I'd like to ask you the next time you come on in the future is the process of writing a book and what it's like to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Would love to.
Okay.
But that will be for another day and another hour.
Absolutely, and that's why my podcast used to be called 30 Minutes, and now it's basically 60 minutes plus. But Barry, I'm sorry I kept you a little bit longer, but thank you so much for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk. I really enjoyed talking with you tonight.
All right, Chris, keep up the good work, man.
You too. Thank you so much, Barry, and enjoy the Major League Baseball playoffs, and I'll be in your city on Saturday.
Okay, enjoy.
I will. Thank you. Go Eagles.
Yeah. Take care, Chris.
You too, Barry. Thank you so much. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my podcast with Barry Davis, season 4, episode 38, my 203rd episode. Guys, you can follow Barry on Twitter at Barry Davis _ as well. He's a former reporter for the Toronto Blue Jays on Sportsnet, and he used to be on the Fan 590 as well. And now he's a sales and lease consultant for Bolton Honda in Bolton, Ontario as well. And he does his bands, We Ain't Petty band, and also the Cars tribute band as well, and some Beatles as well. So please check out Barry Davis, Barry Davis _ on Twitter, and you can follow his band sites are on his Twitter page as well, and stuff like that as well. And like I do, guys, I'm going to wrap up this podcast show as well. Just want to do this like I always do. My Live with CDP podcast, the audio version is downloaded to Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn. And you guys can also email me at cpame. Sorry, guys. Trigger finger. You can email me at cpame19@gmail.com. And you guys could follow me on all my other websites as well. I'll bring that up as well. And StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP podcast. And you can also check me out on TikTok at Live with CDP. That's at Live with CDP on TikTok. And also, guys, you can also check out my website, beacons.ai. That's beacons.ai/Chris Christy, Pame as well. All my social media works on there as well. And also, guys, you can check out majorleaguebaseball.com/Blue Jays news. 2022 Major League Baseball playoff and World Series schedule is on there as well. And Toronto and Seattle open their 3-game wild card series at the Rogers Center this weekend in Toronto. Game 1 and Game 2 they're all in Toronto, but Game 1 and 2 are at 4:07 p.m. first pitch. Sunday's Game 3, if necessary, will be at 2:07 as well. So I've got Seattle winning this series in 3 games over Seattle over Toronto in 3 games, and I have Cleveland over Tampa Bay in 2 games, and then I've got the Cardinals over the Phillies in 2, and the Mets over the Padres in 3 as well. And before we go, guys, my next live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Thursday, October 6th at 6 p.m. My guest is Colin Ward. He's the host of the Hammertown podcast, and he's also a contributor to the Hamilton Bulldogs audio network show, and he's also a color analyst for the Brantford Red Sox. So I hope you guys can join my podcast tomorrow night at 6 o'clock with Colin Ward, and we're going to talk about the Hamilton Bulldogs and what that season was like last year, winning the OHL championship, going to the Memorial Cup, and his involvement with the Bulldogs audio network, and also as a color analyst for the Brantford Red Sox as well. Again, guys, Live with CDP podcast is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website for their new and used vehicles at barrycullen.com. And also, guys, you can do pre-orders now available for the all-electric Silverado at Barry Cullen as well. Either check it out on barrycullen.com or give them a call at 519-824-0210. And again, thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for sponsoring Live with CDP Sports Talk. And I want to say thank you to everybody watching this live on my YouTube channel, on Facebook Live, on Twitter, and also on my audio platforms, like I said before, Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor FM. So again, I want to say thank you to Barry Davis for coming on Live with CDP Sports Talk tonight. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to Season 4, Episode 38 of Live with CDP podcast. And just give me about 10 minutes, and I will have this podcast downloaded to my audio platforms as well again. So, and check out barrycullen.com for their new selections of vehicles at Barry Cullen as well, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night at 6 o'clock with Colin Ward for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in the Guelph Auto Mall. Good night, everybody, and thanks for watching.